everywhere. This is for you.
Yes, sir. What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, aka lately the bearer of bad news. But it is what it is. It's Philly the podcast. Obviously, I got my boy Brandon with me. We got some very, very special guests today. I got my boy Thomas Arnone from A2D Radio. Y'all have seen him on here before. And we also got my boy that this is long time coming. We've been trying to make this happen for a little while. Got my boy Philly Take with RB. It is a pleasure to have both of y'all on here. How are you guys doing?
Been better.
Not too well from my side, but I appreciate everyone up on here, man, ready to talk about it, even though I feel like we're saying the same things, you know?
Yes, sir. Every week.
Unfortunately. So, yeah, obviously, if you watch Philadelphia football, if you watch any type of football or just on social media, you have seen that the Philadelphia Eagles took that L to the Seattle Seahawks. I feel like the Eagles fans, a lot of Eagles nations, we knew that it was going to be at the very least tough. I think some of us had more optimism than others, me saying that we were going to go out there and win, but it is what it is. We didn't. I just want to get everybody's, just initial reaction. How did you guys think? Who was the first person you were saying this guy needs to go? What was that first 5 minutes like?
First 5 minutes post-loss, I mean, I don't even know if I was thinking about one person. It was just you know what? Let me start off something positive. The defense played well enough for us to win that game. The defense, despite Slay's stat line with DK, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, we held them to enough points to win that game. Our offense is straight trash. There's no other word to put it. I mean, JP looked lost playing guard. He was chasing dudes around like if it was playing tag at like recess or something. It was terrible. Like, he couldn't keep a guy in front of him. And then on top of that, I think it was Louis Riddick who said, it's taken Alshon 3 days to get open or run his route. Like it was so bad on all levels. I mean, if you start with Doug's play calling, if you go to Carson's play, if you go to the offensive line play, the wide receivers, Miles Sanders can't catch the ball, so that's fun to see. So, I mean, everything is just falling apart, and it's been like this at this going down trajectory all season. It's been hard to watch.
Fact. Whenever.
I'll digress.
Yeah, you could take it. All right, you want to take it, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, the first person I thought about was Howie Roseman. I mean, I want to continue to circle back to the nerd in the room. I mean, I'm sick and tired of watching it. I'm sick and tired of being a part of it. I'm sick and tired of being able to sit on my couch and put it on an automated draft and come out with better results than this guy does year in, year out. I mean, we're going to play games throughout the week of what guys under 25 are star caliber players. I mean, people might be able to tell me a couple. I'll probably disagree with them. The roster is horrendous. And I know we all thought coming in 10, 11 wins, and that's where we were going to get to. But that's just our optimism, right? That's our hope that this team's going to be good. But listen, I mean, I thought about firing Doug last night. I thought about firing Carson, and I love Carson. I love Doug. I mean, there was nobody on this roster that was avoidable last night. Like if I was Howie Rose, I mean, if I was Jeffrey Lurie, I drive a Brinks truck up to the ESPN booth, and I make sure Louis Riddick's here. I don't even let Howie Roseman get out of his little booth. So I'm sliding briefcases to Louis Riddick, whatever he wants, to make sure that he leaves his cushy job to come here. Because all Louis Riddick did spend last night, spent all his time saying, hey, Howie Roseman stinks at his job. I mean, it's sort of what I felt like I watched more so than the football game was Louis Riddick crushing a guy who fired him, which was pretty cool. So there's the first things that I thought about. But for the first time, I actually thought about like, man, maybe this isn't the franchise quarterback too. And that was the first time I really had that wake up to like, this is bad. I can't defend anymore.
Yeah. Going off that, the first person I thought about, it was Frank Reich. I mean, Jesus. I mean, we have no offensive coordinator. I'm starting to see like there is just a complete disconnect in the organization. Nobody sees eye to eye. Doug's arrogant. He's stubborn. Jeffrey Lurie calls it this way. Doug comes in without an OC. And like you said, our offense is just terrible. Like, I've never seen something this bad. I feel like I watch the same 10 plays every week. But this week, there's no getting out of it. Like, Doug Pederson coached that game yesterday like he wants to be fired. How do you give Miles Sanders 6 carries? 6. We were talking about, is he finally going to get above 18? 6. I mean, it's ridiculous. He went away. The first drive of the game, it was 1st and 5, and we throw the ball 3 times. We don't even give it to our running back, who's developing into his own. The offense just never got around to it. Like Tom said, Carson Wentz. I mean, I'm questioning him. I think he needs to sit down. I think he needs to see it from a different perspective. Not just because Jalen Hurts is going to come in and save the season. It's because Carson Wentz is just playing bad. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's not all his fault, though. The O-line stinks. Our running backs stink. Our wide receivers. Travis Fulgham is our best wide receiver. And we don't even play the guy. We give an aging Alshon Jeffrey snaps over him. I don't understand this, like, fetish with these old guys. But I'm just thinking about the creativity, and we have none. I mean, we are the same offense every single week. Our defense, I can't be mad at it. I mean, they went out there and they played with heart in that first quarter. But you get tired after a while, and when your offense doesn't help you out, it's just everything comes crashing down.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to go off of what you said with Carson, a lot of people are saying, it's like, oh, people think Jalen Hurts is going to come in and save the season. At what point is it, if he is our franchise quarterback, let's think, optimistic as possible, blame it on everything else. At what point do you save Carson Wentz? You know what I'm saying? He's on pace to be, I believe, it's 3rd in the NFL history with sacks. You know what I'm saying? In sacks this season, he's on pace to hit that. Do you really want to put him through that? Do you really want to put him through week after week of this Philly media? You know what I'm saying? Is that really worth it to go, 5 and, whatever it may be? That half a game throws my, whole mathematics off. I can never come up with it. But either way, at what point does it not become worth it? At what point do you start looking, I hate to say towards the future, but start looking at what you have on the back end of your roster? You know what I'm saying? Look at what we found when we got Travis Fulgham. Why don't we give people that don't necessarily usually get a chance? We know what Alshon is. I think everybody knew what we were going to get out of Alshon. Same thing can be said with D-Jax. And same thing can be said with people like JP, with people like, Nate, not Nate Herbig, Matt Pryor. You know what I'm saying? These people, we know what we're getting out of them. Put somebody else in there. If we're going to lose, let's lose and learn something. At this point, I feel like we're just losing to lose. You know what I'm saying? Nothing's being learned. Nothing's changing. But I've been thinking about this, and I want to ask you guys. If you look at the history of the Eagles, this is, I feel like, the same old story, if you will. Because when we had Donovan McNabb, we didn't put, weapons around him other than the defense. At least we put weapons on the defense. But do you think maybe Lurie has a little bit more say than we all kind of expected or think, give credit for?
I mean, I think Lurie he really trusted Howie after the whole chip experience and everything like that. And then when Howie comes back, he makes the team that brings us to the Super Bowl and wins. And I think a lot of after that point, no one's been really held accountable. It's been kind of like that pass. You got us the Super Bowl. The next year we make the playoffs. The year after that, we hobble into the playoffs. And there hasn't been this kind of season yet to really put blame on people. But you could really see toward the end of last year, or even if you count the whole year, you could see that this team was starting to go on a decline with the talent that's on the team. We had too many old people. So what do? We get younger, but then we draft just dumb places. We're taking Jay. If you really, hindsight sucks. Because if you look back at it, you could say, dang, we took Andre Dillard. At the time, it looked good because we were trying to get young. We're trying to replace JP. And now we don't have a guy like Josh Jacobs. Imagine we had Josh Jacobs with DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson. We would look like an all-star team right now. But we're not drafting obvious choices. And I don't know if Jeffrey Lurie really had a say in all that. If anything, if he does, and maybe he was just leaving all that trust to Howie.
Yeah, in terms of saving Carson, I would have saved them. I would have saved them after the first quarter this week. I mean, I would have saved them when we had 4 yards. When we had 4 yards. and I think he was already sacked 3 or 4 times. I mean, I'm just saving him from himself, honestly, because the only person that this organization brought in to help out Carson Wentz this offseason was Jalen Hurts. It's a joke. It's a disgrace. All right. At no point did they ever say, "Hey, this is your team." Yeah, people can tell me what the checkbook says. I don't care what the check you wrote to him says. I care about the perception. I care about this isn't a computer game. These are real men. We all have feelings. We all have egos at the end of the day when you're in professional sports, for sure, right? And when you got to go home and tell your wife, "Hey, look what they did again to me. Look what they did again." I mean, when do we have to save him from that? And if that's moving on from him, then so be it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even care anymore. I'm willing to lose the next 2 or 3 years. I'm done. Because the only way we're going to get back to where we want to get to is by blowing this whole thing up. And that doesn't mean Doug Pederson has to go. Because you can bring in everything new and still keep Doug, right? Because you believe he's a good leader of men. Forget about his play calling, his design. We all know that no head coach would be calling their own plays. Everybody fails at it. So for him to think that he can do it is like RB said, that's ego talk. I mean, now your head's too big for the room, and that's when guys get fired. So maybe we can bring him in. A new GM brings in everything they want. Maybe they want to keep Doug. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But that's probably the only guy, just because of his leader of men, and I know he can take a rebuild quickly to the playoffs and a Super Bowl, that I would consider keeping. And that the fact that how many teams are going to look for new coaches this year? 10 right now? Right. So now I'm fighting with all these teams for Eric Bieniemy or with other top names on the board coming out. So, and I do think, Joe, Jeffrey Lurie is getting a little bit of Jerry Jones in him right now. Because now when you hear that he was part of the Jalen Hurts pick, that's when, as an owner, you should be fired. You should fire yourself. Now you're getting involved in picks. That's why you hire football guys. So that's telling you don't trust the people in place.
Yeah. Just kind of to add on that, like, Carson Wentz, he needs saving, and he needs saving quickly. But the problem is the person that needs to save him isn't going to do it, and that's Doug Pederson. Because, you know, I keep listening to Doug Pederson talk. I don't know why I keep putting myself through these press conferences, but the guy doesn't know what he's doing right now. I mean, he literally said today, they asked him, you know, are you in a rut with your play calling? Would you ever consider giving up? Now he's finally starting to teeter a little bit like, oh, maybe I would give up a half or a drive or something like that. But he's not going to do it. I'm telling you, he's too stubborn. The whole thing with Jeffrey Lurie, they don't see eye to eye. We as Eagles fans, and me, myself, I'm ashamed of myself for this. Like, I should have seen this coming when last year Doug came out and said, oh, Mike Groh and Carson Wentz will be back. And the next day, they were gone. Yeah. That means there's no eye to eye there in the organization, because if Doug knew that they would not be back, there's no way he's coming out and saying that. There's no way. And then the next day he's gone. That's what started it for me. That kick-started it. And I think Doug, you know, we have all these offensive assistants, and I joke around and I'm saying, what's Marty Mornhinweg and Rich Scangarello doing besides getting free healthcare and free lunch at the NovaCare? And they're just Press Taylor's like, what, 12 years old? And what are we doing at this point? What we know, Frank Reich was the architect. We don't have that anymore. And Doug Pederson keeps trying to come out here and throw this same thing, and it's not going to work. He's not going to save Carson. And when Jalen Hurts is there on the sideline, you bring him in for one play, a 6-yard completion, and you take him out. I mean, what are we doing at this point? Right. And you bring him in for a 3rd and 2, and you leave Carson on the field. And I knew we were running the ball, and it's just bad. I can predict every single play almost, and I'm just a normal fan.
Yeah, it's like, what team in NFL history, if they just signed their quote-unquote franchise quarterback to a contract and draft a quarterback within 2 years, who does that? You put pressure on a guy for no reason. Like, that's unnecessary pressure. I feel like that Howie's part of it. He is I feel like he's most of the reason for this demise between the personnel he's picked up and the unnecessary stressors. It's one thing if Carson plays bad and we can all put on him, and like he's like, oh, Nick Foles is gone. He only has Nate Sudfeld behind him. Like, who cares? Or Josh McCown. Like, no one's really asking for those guys. But not only do you draft a quarterback that was pretty good in college, that had good games and games that people are like, whoa, he was in Alabama, he was at Oklahoma. Like, this guy has been at some top schools in the nation, and you go ahead and draft him when you have a franchise quarterback. Makes no sense.
2 teams do that. The old Raiders, right? or Mr. Davis and the Dallas Cowboys. There's two teams that you would say, because their owners get too involved, that you would say have done that kind of stuff, or you would expect to. That's it. And they're what have they done in the last 20 plus years? Both of them franchises.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fact.
All right. Didn't they go? They went to one with Gruden, but they didn't win it, right? They just went to one.
Yeah.
And their Super Bowl run, you can kind of compare to ours because they were an older team. You know what I'm saying? They had that Super Bowl run and then kind of fizzled out. And I said this in one of my videos the other day. This right now decides how long this rebuild is going to be. You have to make the decision, give the responsibilities. You know, what a good owner does is delegate. You know what I'm saying? The best employer is a person that you never see because you already know your job. They told you, you know what I'm saying? Everybody has their position. So at this point, Jeffrey Lurie, who's going to be the constant no matter what, has to make those decisions and move forward with those decisions. So it's not a 5-6 year rebuild. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we hold on to people for another year and say, oh, well, maybe this person, maybe there are certain people that I would like to see back, but at the same time, there's certain people like Howie, I feel like is a no-brainer. You know, I feel like at this point, if everything's true, it's just a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? Like he just made too many bad decisions, and you know, affected like the Will Parks. How do you guys feel about Will Parks getting cut?
Well, I mean, I don't see the point of cutting someone this late in the season, especially at a depth with our D-backs that I feel like we need the depth. We let go of Sidney Jones. We let go of Russell Douglas. We let go of some of these other guys that you can just plug and play in like a Will Parks. You can play him in the box. You can have him guard a tight end. He's not that great. I mean, he's gotten burned quite a few times, especially by like Evan Ingram on that play against the Giants where we probably should have lost that game if Evan Ingram catches that ball. That was Will Parks. He got burnt on that. So what am I sitting here like upset that he got cut? Not really, because I don't know exactly what he did for the team. But what if someone goes down and then we're scrapping for someone on the practice squad that hasn't seen the field all season? Then we're going to be like, why don't we have Will Parks? And he had a good personality, I guess.
Slay liked him, you know. Darius Slay liked him.
To me, it like you said, it doesn't matter at all. I mean, it is what it is at this point. We need to have a question though about, you know, like the talent evaluation, because whether it's Will Parks, Douglas, Sidney Jones, I mean, Nelson Aguilar, for crying out loud, these guys are balling out on other teams, and we could be using all their production right now. But they couldn't do one single thing here. And I think it just goes to speak to like the coaching staff. All the coaches got to be on the hot seat, man. Like, how do these guys look so – I know that there's a thing known as change of scenery, but every single guy that leaves and they're thriving somewhere else. And just to echo on that Jalen Hurts pick, yeah, we had so many other areas of need at that time. I mean, when's the last time this team even valued a linebacker? When? Seattle has strong linebackers, and they came in handy last night. I'm just saying, man. The talent, we have talent here, but again, like the aging veterans, Fulgham not getting snaps over Alshon, Nate Herbig sitting on the bench. I don't understand it anymore.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with me is I don't know whose job is who. Like, nobody takes responsibility for any one department. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like, you know, to Tom's point when he said that Jalen Hurts pick, you know, had a little bit of a Jeffrey Lurie influence as well. Nobody who knew that. You know, it comes out randomly. It comes out to, you know, now a year later almost. And that's how it is with the Eagles. And I appreciate that to a certain extent with some things, but some things I feel like are just blatant lies. And it's like, yeah, I feel like Doug kind of laughs and smirks in our face in these press conferences. And it's just getting old. It's getting really old. And like you said, we're seeing that we have talent on this roster by mistake, which makes no sense, I should say. It makes no sense. When you have to dig somebody like Travis Fulgham out of your own, you know, practice squad, that makes not own practice squad, but, you know, out of your own roster, and he has to basically have no other option but to play. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. What are you seeing at practice? You know what I'm saying? That's really my question right now.
Why would it like, you should never have to go to your practice squad for an impact guy if you're expected to be a playoff team. I mean, that's what the Jets do. You know, that's what the bad football teams around do. That's why, like, when everybody got excited about Travis Fulgham, I'm like, what are you going to expect week in, week out from a guy? who's a practice squad guy. He is what he is. He is what he is. I'll promise everybody one thing about Travis Fulgham. He might stay in the league for a little bit, but he's never going to be T.O. He's never going to be a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver. I mean, he had 38 snaps last night. I mean, it's not like he had none. He had 38. And you're on the field 38 times. I think he had one catch. Every wide receiver in football breaks that tackle on that play, and everybody knows what play I'm talking about. Everybody. We all watch a ton of football. We have nobody out there that can make a guy miss, right, including our first-round pick. Right? I mean, look around it. I mean, Alshon dropping balls on the first drive like we were talking about. I mean, everything's just a mess. I don't even know. I don't even know what to do anymore, but we shouldn't be – like if we had aspirations of being a playoff team when we know next year we're $60 million over the cap, which means this year would be an all-in year, essentially. That's how the roster's constructed. It's constructed to be this year you better go win something or at least compete. So we shouldn't be going that direction. We shouldn't even have to even go to somebody else's practice squad unless you're just filling out your 53-man roster and you just need a body for special teams or something. We should never be going there for wide receivers at this point of 2 straight years of drafting one. We're going to a practice squad for wide receivers? I mean, somebody punch me in the head. Just punch me in the head. I'm tired of watching. I mean, I don't mean to take a shot. I'm not taking a shot at the kid because all the kid did was come in and show he belonged in the league in some fashion. So it's not a shot at the kid. It's just a shot at the organization because they drive me crazy.
Right. And it's kind of crazy, though. I mean, I know you're saying how Travis Fulgham probably won't turn out to be like the next great thing. But, I mean, at one point, he was at least on a hot streak. And then as soon as Alshon gets semi-healthy, within 2 games, I think last night the split was 51% Fulgham, 49% Alshon. It doesn't make sense. I mean, Wentz was getting comfortable with the guy that we maybe thought could possibly eclipse or at least get to 1,000 yards. He was already at like 400 within 5 games. And then all of a sudden Alshon gets healthy, and we haven't seen him within the last 2-3 games. It's insane. It's like if something's working, Doug doesn't want to go back to it. Nope. We're running the ball well. Nah, we ain't gonna run no more. Last night we could have ran the ball. We ran the ball 9 times between 3 players, 3 running backs. 9 times? Are you kidding me? How does that make sense? What makes you think you're gonna win a football game with only running the ball 9 times? When we were good, we ran the ball a lot. We were a top 5 in rushing when we were good. What makes you think if we're bottom last in rushing, which don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's a real stat or not, but it feels that way. And I don't know.
At least it attempts. But like when you talked about Travis, right? I mean, it's not even about it's about him. It's like why the reason that they're probably doing it, it's probably coming from upstairs, right? We don't want to pay him, and we have a guy that's owed $20 million this year, so get him on the field. I guarantee it. Joe was talking about we don't know who's in control of what, but I guarantee that's coming from Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. That one, we don't want to pay Travis Fulgham a lot of money next year. We don't want to have to do that. And 2, Alshon's getting paid $20 million. This is how inept this organization is.
It absolutely is. And it goes to show like a higher thing that I tend to notice, which is like these guys with tons of money, these guys, they never want to be viewed as wrong, right? You bring Jason Peters back, you give him a pay raise. It makes Jordan Mailata is on a hot stretch. Last year we saw Andre Dillard in the same kind of rhythm and he gets switched over and gets taken out. You saw the same thing happen. Why are you taking Mailata out? I know I never thought Mailata would be anything, but I know he was on a 3-game hot stretch, and you bring Jason Peters back. Last night, we switch him over to guard for the first time in his career. The guy has a broken toe, but it's because he's getting paid money, and these guys don't want to say, oh, I was wrong. I shouldn't have gave him a pay raise. I shouldn't have brought back a 38-year-old fat lineman. I shouldn't have done it. He's too old. He's wide. It's done. But they don't want to be wrong. Nate Herbig, I don't understand. I still don't understand. When they asked Doug about that last week at his press conference, he said, oh, we're just going through and evaluating. It's just a week-by-week thing. Sua Opeta got injured for the season, and Nate Herbig still isn't back on the field. I don't understand. But like you guys said, it's at the top. It goes throughout the organization, but we don't want to be wrong. We'd rather be not wrong than put the best talent out there, and it's sickening.
Yeah, and I feel like the theme of all these press conferences that we hear from the Eagles are continuity, right? We hear a lot of well, we need to have the same team out there, build a rhythm, execute this, that. You yourself are ruining the continuity when you take someone out, like you said, Jordan Mailata. When you take someone out like Nate Herbig when they're doing well, you're ruining the continuity. You know what I'm saying? At that point, I understand injuries happen. When that happens, it happens. But when you just say, I can't be wrong with this guy, I have to, JP has to give us $6 million worth of value. You know what I'm saying? Like, these aren't stocks. You know, like Tom said, these are real players. This isn't Madden. You can't just take somebody, you know, that has an 80 rating and expect them to play like an 80 overall. That's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? And I've said this time and time again. I'd rather be $60 million in the cap and know that we have a good team and we're just going to have to try and hit on the draft and that be our problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that was where we were like maybe a year ago. We were kind of like, all right, our cap is a little questionable, but you know, Howie's been making it happen. And our drafting is a little bit questionable, but we're getting gems here and there. That's where we were. That was a happy place for me right now.
Right.
Like right now, I feel like everything is just slowly crumbling. And this is one of our better drafts, in my opinion. They're just not seeing the field.
And speaking of the draft, it's like we're going to end up with the way that this is looking, it is what it is. We're going to end up with a top 8, top 5 draft pick by the end of this. So my question for you guys is, do you even, one, trust the organization to make a good pick? And two, it was an okay draft, but I still feel like we should have, like, for instance, Hurts and some other spots, we could have hit at different positions. So what position do we even go after in that first pick or in that top 5 pick, let's say?
I mean, me personally, I don't know. You're right. I mean, who's making the pick? I need to know who's making it. But regardless who's making it, I mean, listen, I like Jamar Chase. I'm not going back to the wide receiver position again. I mean, now we're getting crazy using assets constantly on the same position. I don't know. Me, it's Parsons from Penn State. I mean, I need to address linebacker for one time, and this is the best linebacker in college football. To me, it's a no-brainer. You'll probably be able to get him between 3, 4, 5. He's not going to go 1 or 2. Linebackers just don't. So, I mean, Isaiah Simmons went, 5, 6 last year?
Was it 5?
Was somewhere around there, right? He didn't go, obviously, too high. But still, I mean, I think your best linebackers probably go around there. So I'll take Parsons. I like Jamar Chase too, but I can't go back to that well again.
Yep. I'd probably go linebacker too because we don't address it. And even if we have to look best position available, as long as it's not like one of the positions, you know, we don't need to address, but like we need an impact player. I feel like we haven't gotten an impact player in a long time. If I'm the front office, you know, if depending on what happens, because somebody else has to be in charge of drafting. You look at all these picks the last couple of years. A lot of them have not panned out. But if I'm the Eagles, honestly, I might even think about trading this pick, getting another pick, maybe in the top 10 or around that place, but getting an impact player that's going to develop, because I don't know. I just feel like we don't have the coaches to develop anyone right now. I don't see any development at all, and that's just me.
Yeah, I think that's a big reason why I said that we have to get ahead of this rebuild, if you will. If we're going to start making decisions with our front office, we have to start making them now. You know what I'm saying? So we can get a clear picture for whoever's going to be taking over. You know what I'm saying? I know there's probably like a date of when you can and can't start making moves, but at the end of the day, we have to get it going now. We have to start the process now. I don't trust anybody on this front office staff to scout anyone. I don't trust anybody in the scouting to do anything that has to do with bringing players on this team. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I said, I feel like the building is burning from the bottom and it's just worked its way up. You know what I'm saying? There was something that happened when we won that Super Bowl. Whatever it is that happened, it happened, and it just has slowly, you know, burned the house down. And I feel like we're seeing the structure of the house now, and it's not a strong one. You know what I'm saying? So we have to rebuild this foundation, you know what I'm saying? And we have to figure it out from there. So, you know, long story short, which I know too late, but I would say no. I don't trust anybody on this organization to make a decision coming next year. But I do agree with RB, bro. Like, maybe we do look at, you know, getting more picks. And I want to bring this up, and I know I'll probably get roasted because I asked a Jaguars fan, and he was like, "You're an idiot." But Caldwell, How do y'all feel about Dave Caldwell? I know he got fired and everything, but they didn't draft terribly. You know what I'm saying? They didn't draft terribly, other than like Blake Bortles. That was probably his worst contract. But like, how do y'all feel about somebody like him? Or is there anybody out there, as far as, I know you said Riddick, but is there anybody out there that you would think of as a possible GM?
I don't know too much about Caldwell, so I'll keep mine short. I like Riddick. That was one of the people I was kind of thinking of, because I mean, he was on the organization before, and when I was looking at when he was part of the player pro personnel, we had good draft picks. Like, it's not like we hit on every draft pick. You don't. But he was part of the Fletcher Cox, the Jason Kelce's, the Brandon Graham's, the Deshaun Jackson, McCoy, Macklin. He was there for all those guys getting drafted. So he has an idea. He's part of the organization. Those were guys that we consider as one of the best Eagles as of like the last decade or so. So if we can bring a guy like him back, that'd be cool. But when it comes to Caldwell, I mean, the Jags speak for themselves, so it's kind of hard for me to really think that maybe you're right about the draft picks. Like, yeah, they've hit on some, and they had that stellar defense at one point. But as of lately, I mean, they took that Nick Foles contract and kind of flipped him off, like sent him to Chicago, and it's just I don't know too much about him. That's all I really know.
Yeah, mine's Louis Riddick. I want to go like the Raiders went. I want to go somebody who actually studies the draft, and maybe from an outsider, maybe as in, just as a broadcaster doing the draft. But the guy is in tuned in it, and I need somebody in tuned and a former player. Like, I can't stress enough the former player in that role. You look at Ozzie Newsome, what he did for a while in Baltimore, of just constant hitting in the draft. Like, they didn't do a lot of stuff in free agency. They just constantly hit in the draft. And that's why they're always competitive. And you just look around the league. I mean, you just look around there's some guys that aren't, but a lot of guys are like either former players or they either did their work to get up there. I mean, Howie Roseman's none of them things. And there's a lot of guys out there that are none of them things. Are either good with money or they're good at something that an owner likes, or saving an owner money. One of the two. So, mine's Louis Riddick. I want somebody in the know that has a feel for it, that understands 2020 NFL football, right, the whole nine that goes into it. So that's my only guy. I don't know. The guy in Jacksonville did draft well, but I don't know how much his hands are tied with everything else that goes on there, because our owner's a loser. So
Shaka Khan.
Ours is becoming a loser too. Ours should just travel to Jacksonville too, because he's a loser too. But he doesn't have no backbone. I mean, earlier Will Parks. That's it. Like, somebody, I don't even care if it's a guy holding a tablet. Somebody needs to get fired today. I don't care who it is. I don't really care. You could have told me some offensive game, like, deep coordinator. Like, the guy hasn't left his house yet this year. Like, he's just on a tablet at home, and he oversees everything on all 22. He needs to get fired then. Just somebody needs to get fired. Why did you lose like you did on prime time, where the analyst on that game is crushing your whole organization, and you fired him? Your GM fired him, and he's just smoking everybody. I don't know. I can't anymore with it.
Hey, I'm just going to add a little spiel into that. All I'll say is I would take a page out of the playbook of my favorite franchise in Philly right now, which is the Philadelphia 76ers. Clear everybody and get a household name, a guy who knows the game, has been around, like Tom said, and just someone who's in tune. And, I mean, just clear it out and just start over. Build from the ground up. The Sixers have done it in 3 months. The Eagles, I'm feared that it's going to take a little bit longer. But Louis Riddick, I love Louis Riddick. Every time the man speaks, I'm listening. I'm listening close to what he's saying, because it makes sense. He says things that make sense. And I just think at this point, I don't want an assistant from somewhere else. I don't want a GM who doesn't have a lot of experience. We need a guy who's going to get this thing steering in the right direction right away.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point, shout out to, what is his name? Sam Morley. I tell y'all knew Daryl out there. Daryl Moore. Yeah, there you go. So, we need somebody like him, because I see a lot of, the tweets, a lot of the headlines that go about him, and he's a fan. At the very core of everything, he's a very smart man. He's made some very good decisions, got you guys right back on track. But he's a fan, and he's passionate, and he loves what he does, and he loves the team. I need that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Howie loves what he does more than he loves the outcome of the team. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he gets more of a little bit of a joy out of saying, look what I did, instead of look what the team did. You know what I mean?
It just cut the biggest Philly fan in the league. The guy's from Philly. You cut a guy that was born and raised in Philly in the area, and he loves Philadelphia, and you cut him out of.
And he's not even making that much money. What did that do? What did that do? If you wanted to get Kayvon Wallace more snaps, I'm cool. I actually agree with that. That makes sense. Then you get Kayvon Wallace more snaps. Like, I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did you say? $500,000? What did you really do there? But make a statement that you're an idiot.
We ain't signing no one at this point.
Did something happen we don't know about?
It annoys me at this point.
Did something happen that we don't know about? I mean, like, obviously we're not inside the locker room. I mean, I doubt it, but like, did Will Parks say something? Did he do something? Was he pissed off about something? Was he pissed off about playing time? Was he mad? I mean, that's the only rational. I mean, Will Parks is whatever to me as a player. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother me you cut him or didn't, or you kept him. To your guys' points, like, what did he do though? I mean, that's the move you make. I mean, I don't. That's the axe that gets thrown today. I mean, wow. Right. I mean, I'm not even looking at my defense throwing axe. And if I really want to throw an axe, you know what I'm going to throw an axe at? I'm going to throw an axe at the supposed number one corner. Okay, I'm going to throw. If I'm going to axe something and get cute, then I'm going to axe somebody for 10 for 177, or I'll axe my defensive coordinator who wanted to take little jabs and poke the bear before the game for him to go for 10 for 177. So if you really want to make a statement, you make a statement with something that failed last night. You don't make a statement with an unknown unless he went crazy in the locker room or something. I don't know.
And just to add on to that, like Will Parks, I mean, he's not doing anything for this team. He's not producing. Obviously, he's not like one of the guys. But I think it is interesting. Will Parks, we do know his personality. He is a tough-minded kid, like you said, Brandon, from Philly. So that kind of brings me to a bigger point. It's like we're getting rid of guys like that. I don't feel like we have a leader on this team. I don't think we have had all year. I didn't want to let Malcolm Jenkins walk. At the same time, he's not having a good year, but we don't have that leader mindset, that presence, and that's just how I'm feeling. And for us to get rid of a guy like that, it's kind of confusing to me.
And not only get rid of, I feel like, to your point, I feel like we're pushing people like that away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we're pushing major voices away. And is it because Carson doesn't like, having big voices on his team? He wants to be the guy. Is it because Howie doesn't want to get, called out for his BS? And it might be maybe Orlando Scandrick, which I wanted to bring up. Maybe Orlando Scandrick wasn't as crazy after all. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the "where there's smoke, there's fire" comment wasn't as crazy as we all thought, or such a hater comment. Are you looking at it now a little bit differently? I know you guys probably saw him on First Take. I think it was this morning, kind of talking about that. What are you guys' thoughts about that?
One, I mean, I'm not going to really listen to a word Orlando Scandrick says, especially when he tried to come out and really talk his ish about Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, it's one thing if you're going to talk junk and have it be correct. It's another when you're talking junk and within 24 hours a soundbite comes on how you were applauding him and telling that he's this strong leader and everything. So Orlando Scandrick can kick rocks. Plus, he's a Dallas lifer. I don't know what we were thinking bringing him in. But he did make one comment where he called Howie Roseman a weasel, and that made me laugh. And honestly, at this point, I can call Howie a weasel too. I'm not a fan of the guy. And once I saw him last night at the end of the game, packing his little binoculars in his man purse, I was over it. I was just like, bro, you can see it on his face. He looks defeated. He's not even down there. He's not he's just up there in this nice warm box, and he just looks like his days are numbered. And I think they are, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely numbered. I mean, I don't know. RB, you go before me.
All I gotta say is, like you said, Orlando Scandrick can kick rocks. Doesn't know what he's talking about. I'll never forget that play he got embarrassed on. I mean, blatantly embarrassed, and then we cut him, I think. And I mean, he thinks I'm not even listening to the outside noise because we can see it ourselves. I mean, we see what's going on. This team is in turmoil right now. Howie is done. We need a talent evaluator in. Not only do we need a guy who's going to bring the right talent in, like I've been saying, we need people who are going to coach up that talent. Everyone who's saying, we should have had Metcalf. I agree. But at the same time, I don't think Metcalf will be putting up 170 yards on this offense. It's like we need people who are going to get the best out of our talent. And it doesn't happen when you're giving Miles 6 carries. But like we said, at the same time, a second round pick on a quarterback, it doesn't play. A third round pick on Davion Taylor. I only see that guy on special teams, to be honest. It's crazy, man. We don't have enough in here. We don't.
That man had a pop.
He gets that big hit. He gets a big hit sometimes.
I know people aren't going to like these comments I'm about to make. One, I could have told you years ago that Howie Roseman was a weasel. I didn't need like you guys said, I didn't need Orlando Scandrick to emphasize that for me. But what I will tell you is that where there's smoke, there's fire too. And he's not fully wrong on Malcolm Jenkins. And this doesn't go well in this city. And I get it. The dude's a crumb too. All right. Mr. Leader himself, Mr. Leader, not even 24 hours after you lost in the playoffs last year. You're talking about money. That's a leader. That's a guy I need in my locker room. No. Because I'm not over a loss in 24 hours. Neither should you. So you wait. That can wait. That money doesn't need to be talked of the week after you got eliminated. Not a week after just a regular loss. The same way I'll get rid of Zach Ertz. The second you want to start talking about money when you're on a contract, see ya. I mean, I would have got rid of him right then and there. As soon as you come up in my office, like, what do you need? Talking about ascension? Hold on, I got to make a call. Right? I mean, it'll be that quick. Same thing with Malcolm Jenkins. I love Malcolm. I love what he did here. Right? But I'm not a Cowboys fan. I don't live in 2017. I got to figure out how I can get there again. Right? And the thing with Malcolm is I was ready to move on from him as soon as he brought out money that next day. Like, as soon as he brought money, I'm like, I'm not. This is what you care about. I know you're at that point of your career. I know you're older. You're looking for your last payday. But as fans, I don't want to hear that.
All right.
I don't want to hear that oppressor. I don't care if somebody asks you that question. All you have to say is, "We'll talk about that. We'll get there. We'll figure that out." That's all you got to say. But to come out and start making demands, like you just lost. You're making demands. So that's where, like, I love Malcolm, but then I think there's some truth to what Scandrick said, even though he's a crumb. Like, I don't like Orlando Scandrick, but I think there's like some truth, right, to what he said. But then he also looks like a weasel himself, because like Brandon said, what did he do in the video? I mean, the guy was kissing the guy's ass the whole time. He's a tremendous leader. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to think about anything anymore. I'm so lost. I know you guys are too. The whole thing's a train wreck, and it happens so fast.
So fast. This wasn't even like a progression. It literally just all of a sudden, boom.
I felt like it happened overnight. Like game one, it happened at halftime. That's what it really feels like. It happened at halftime. Game one, 17-0, and then just.
Vince, when did he start doing these duck throws that overthrow every wide receiver deep? When did he start trying to be like Russell Wilson with those rainbow throws?
Well, here's the thing. I think that Carson, first off, his mechanics stink. I mean, if you just watch, just a few games, his mechanics are off. And I think that's led to his decision-making being off. But I think it starts with Doug's scheme on offense. I mean, from week one, I don't think, that the guys were running the best routes possible. I don't think we were running the ball enough. And I think that as a whole contributed to then Carson being with his mechanics off, trying to do too much, not throwing the ball away. And then it was like a domino effect, and it just hasn't stopped. And now we're at a point where I don't know if we can turn back with the guy, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like somebody said it on like probably one of those channels or whatever, but they were saying after a while of having so much badness around you, at some point it's going to rub off. At some point it's hard to keep going 120% when everybody around you is around 60. You know what I'm saying? At some point your body just gives up. At some point, mentally, you give up. Something happens, And I think this year is just too much for him. I don't want to say that it all, stems from that one game or stems from that one thing. But I feel like it was, like you said, it just snowballed. It just progressively got worse. And it didn't start with Carson Wentz, but I feel like our season basically ended once Carson Wentz, got affected. Once the Monstars got to him, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Monstars took everybody's talent. They got their talent in the little football, and they about to go play LeBron James in the next movie or something. I don't know. But once they got to Carson Wentz, it was just a wrap from there. That's really how I look at it.
It's like, how do you overthrow Alshon Jeffrey? The guy finally gets open down the sideline, and you overthrow him as if he's like Deshaun Jackson speed. He's slow. This is a routine throw that if you're going to make any throws, make those. Like, if you're going to miss the Hail Mary or those like throws, like how he made to Boston Scott, that amazing throw against the Giants to win the game. If you miss that, everyone's like, at least we get it. Those are low percentage. But you're just going to overthrow a guy going in slow motion. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And like you guys said, it goes back to his mechanics. Then it goes back to Press Taylor, then back to Doug, and then the guys who brought guys like Press Taylor in.
Sometimes year 5, as much as like, this is tough for me, right? Because like year 1, 2, 3, I'm all on board with the coaches, right? Like I'm all on board putting his issues fully on them, right? At some point when I give you $100 million, at some point you got it. I said last night was so important for him because he had to run around. And I knew going into this game, he has to know it. Somebody has to get in his ear and say, hey, you know what? You do have to do too much. You're going to have to do a lot more than we want you to do. All right? Because the only way we get first downs is by him running the football a little bit, by him moving out. We had one design rollout last night. That's atrocious. That's disgusting. I watch Mahomes roll out all the time. I watch all these other guys with similar skill sets move all around, and he doesn't. And with a beat-up offensive line and everything that's going on here, how are we not? And that goes to Doug, but some of that goes to Carson too, because he is changing plays at the line of scrimmage. I'm watching him take every play clock to 1, which tells me everything I need to know on who's calling the plays. This is why I don't put as much on Doug as everybody else does. There's plenty to go on Doug. Don't get me wrong. Plenty. But I don't put everything on Doug because year 5, we were told year 1, you master the West Coast offense. That's what Doug Pederson told us the day Carson Wentz was drafted. Well, now we're in year 5. So now you have carte blanche to see what you see and to call what you want to call at the line. And are they tied at the hip together? Absolutely. Is it bad play design? Probably. I don't feel like Doug forgot how to coach. I truly don't. I just don't feel like you forget how to play quarterback in this league and you forget how to coach overnight. So everything that every problem that's happened has ended up impacting Doug Pederson, because there's no talent on this offense. Miles Sanders stinks right now to me. Stinks. You put the ball on the turf. Every big spot you had, Rams game, first quarter, first drive, ball on the turf. Guess what, dude? That's why you weren't a first-round pick coming out of college, right? Same issues at Penn State. Then we talk about another big game, Cleveland, first drive, right? Yeah, great. You ran the ball great to get down there. I don't care if you take a ball. You could have one rush for 90 yards and fumble on the 10, and then you're coming to have a seat with me. Right? That's how this league works. So there's not enough talent, and I think it hurts both of them. And I'm not making excuses for Doug or Carson, because 1, you got to coach better, and 2, you got to play better. But at some point, we have to realize, like, what we're watching, that it hurts both of them. And that doesn't mean both of them can't go. I'm just telling you what I think is transpiring here and why it looks like these two totally are incompetent at their jobs.
Yeah, I feel like from year 1 to 5, you can say that about both of them. I feel like at this point, Carson Wentz should be teaching his new wide receivers the offense, not learning it with them. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I understand that we went through a lot of different wide receiver coaches, a couple different quarterback coaches, different offensive coordinators, whatever you want to say. But Doug's been there. You know what I'm saying? And Doug's always been the constant offensive guy. He, at least to us, that's what we were sold him as, kind of the offensive play caller. So I'm not seeing where the disconnect is coming from. I feel like, if anything, every week we hear how he's trying to make it more simple. In year 5 for $100 million, how simple does it have to be? That really becomes my question with it,
No, it's true. It's true.
And they say it's simple, but what's simple? Like, your offensive line stinks, and yet you're running everyone on 10-yard hitches. And by the time everyone's on a hitch route, Carson's getting sacked. It just doesn't make sense. And I hate that they keep doing play action where Carson's pretending to hand the ball off, staying in the pocket with the bad offensive line. You don't run the ball, so you ain't fooling a soul. And then the wide receivers can't get off off the corners right off the rip. It's I don't get it.
Yeah.
Great.
Everyone's bad. In terms of Carson Wentz, I'm really starting to think that the injuries have affected him to a point now where, it is messing with him a little bit, in my opinion, because, first off, that in addition to the fact he did gain weight this year, I went back and watched Wentz, 2016, 2017. The guy was much faster. He could, cut on a dime if he was running the ball. I don't think he can do that anymore, but it is on Doug. Like, one design rollout is terrible, and that's been like 2-3 games in a row. We know that's when our offense moves the best. We know we move the best up tempo. We don't do that either. For me, it's like I've been Doug and Carson guys since they came in. It's not even about me wondering if Doug forgot how to coach. Now I'm wondering if he even has ever known how to coach, because he's had the guys in there like Frank Reich and John DeFilippo. And this, I mean, even with Nick Foles, they designed, kind of a new playbook in a matter of weeks to simplify it for him. I don't think him and Carson are a good match. I really don't. Just by the way he uses them. In terms of Miles Sanders, with Tom, I'm going to have to disagree. I think Miles Sanders averaging almost 6 yards a carry. Even if, you're right, Miles Sanders, the fumble problem is an issue. It really is. But at the same time, you got to at least run the ball to keep the defense honest. And I feel like even when he's in a groove or when we're in a flow, we don't do that. He pulls out the Andy Reid in him, and he reverts to throwing the ball way too much. And we know, and when there's already issues and you're putting that much stress on Carson Wentz, I just feel like it's just not going to work. I just don't think it's going to work.
Well, what about, I totally agree with you. 6 yards of carry is great, but the guy's also been banged up. So like I can't put like all of Doug not putting it in his belly 1 million times this year on Doug. Like I put it on the roster construction that you don't even have a backup running back. I put it on so many things. Like I agree with you though. Like listen, that's my most explosive player on offense. I got to figure out how to get him involved. I truly do. And they try to get him involved in the passing game. He's regressed out of the backfield for some reason. I don't know what happened there. And like this is the guy that I was high on last year. Like how could you not be? He looked electric. He was explosive, and this is like a microcosm, right? Like the guy was banged up early on. Like everything that can go wrong goes wrong. Last night we tried to put it in his belly a couple times, and our offense line's getting blown up. So it's like I don't know what would work anymore. Like last week we ran the ball, right? We get down to the inside their 10 and we put the ball on the turf. If it's not Miles fumbling, it's going to be Carson making a bad decision. So it's like I'm not out on Miles. I'm not out on Carson. Like I talk about them both the same. Like I would have everybody come have a seat with me. Like accountability is all I have.
Right.
I can all come sit down. We'll go get another group in, and you guys watch it from here. So like no way. Like I don't want that to come off the wrong way. Like, I don't want to run him out of town. I just think he's regressed this year. So why? That might be to your point. Like maybe it is coaching. Like, but we all told in 2017, Doug called all the plays. So what changed? But I think I'll tell you what you said. They lost coaches this year. It's been a weird year too. I'm not making an excuse for that. And I think his ego's gotten in the way. I don't think anybody, when we talk about this organization of Howie Roseman and Doug Pederson and Jim Schwartz, that we can't sit here and say all three egos haven't got in the way here. And that might go for our quarterback too, right? I don't know, but that's 4 egos. And when everybody's hitting their head off the wall, ego-wise, that could be a reason that you start to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just to kind of go back against that, I agree. It's looked much different, and I think what's missing is a Frank Reich and a John DeFilippo. Like Frank Reich I think he's sitting at 8-3, 7-3, something like that with Indianapolis. What I go back and I look at is like I feel like I watch the same 15 plays every week. Even in 17, we saw Nelson Aguilar on a motion pre-snap. We saw this. We saw that. We saw some creativity. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Doug believes that, he knows Carson's ability, but he doesn't simplify it too much for him. Like, he tries to allow him to do too much when I think we just need a simple playbook. I don't know, man. Like you said, I don't know what to believe anymore. You run Miles Sanders up the middle 3 times. He gets no gain. We go away from him. Boston Scott, you guys might not be high on Boston Scott. I think he's all right. I think if you give him the ball in open space, he can make something out of it. But, the other week he gets a 65-yard touchdown, I think it was, and we don't see him again. I just don't know, man. I don't know.
Boston hypes me up whenever he plays well. I always shout his name and stuff. And it's just like to bring back like what you said about Nelson. Back when he was motioning across the field, we were handing the ball off to him. We were doing jet sweeps. And we finally did it last night, even if it was for 2 yards. I was hyped. I look at my wife. I was like, let's go. Like, finally, we're going to actually use this, maybe run it a couple of times and fool people instead of just running people across just so they can be tired running across the field. Like, they finally do it. And then we don't see it again. We see nothing about it again. Nothing comes from it. No play action from it. No nothing. It just never happened again.
Yep.
Yeah, no facts. And I just want to say quickly before I keep going on and answer what y'all been talking about. I feel like the DJ Khaled of podcasting right now because I like I said off air, I'm a big fan of RB. I'm a huge fan of A2D radio as well. So seeing y'all do that little back and forth, I forgot that I was on the show for a minute and I was just like having fun watching. I was like, yeah, this is a good show. I was like, oh, I should probably try to get into this. But I totally agree, man. It's so hard to pick one situation. And that's why we keep on saying, try different things. Let's figure out who's at fault. Where is the leak, so to speak? Let's find the leak. Let's patch it. Because when Doug Pederson came in and when Howie Roseman got his power back, we turned a Chip Kelly situation around in 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Was that 100% Frank Reich? It can't be. It couldn't have been Frank Reich. Obviously, I'm sure he had a big part in it. He had his part in it. But we have the pieces from 2017 in that front office still. So is it just purely your ego getting in the way? I hope not. Maybe this is an ego check of the year that you just regroup. But I'm on that same wagon. Accountability is all that you have right now. You can't, maybe you can't take these guys' money away. You can't put them in timeout. You can't turn their Xbox off for a week. So like, if all you have is saying you're not going to play because you're not giving us 100%, that's it. Even Jason Kelce, down to Jason Kelce. If you want to keep on throwing punt kick or I don't know what he's doing, you know what I'm saying? He's just doing slip and slide with the ball on these hikes. If that's what you're going to do every week, then you can sit down too. At the end of the day, if we're going to lose, at least prove points and learn lessons in these losses. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, I don't want to see the same 15 plays fail every week. Fail with some new ones and stop running out of plays.
That's my RB's right. That's why I agree with it. I mean, like at some point I have to put blame on the coach. I mean, you kept telling me all week you're going to dumb it down. I mean, dumb what down? What are we dumbing down? It's 5 years in. What do we got dumbed down for? And then you don't run the ball at all. And some of that's not being on the field. I get that. When you have 4 yards going in your last drive, it's hard to run the ball, right? I mean, every game we've been in, even if we're down 7-0, it feels like we're down 42-0. So, I mean, like even at home, and I think that pressure falls on him. And I think he's probably trying to do so much to get Carson in some type of rhythm week in, week out. And like nothing's helping that, no matter which direction they go. This, like I said, this whole thing, there's not one thing you point your finger to. And that's when you know you need to blow up an organization. When I can't tell you it's this or it's that, and we all sort of feel that same way, blow it up. Blow it up.
Yep. And to add on to that, like I'm really getting tired of seeing Doug Pederson come out to the podium and say, Jalen Hurts, we'll try to get him involved, right? Or they say, oh, well, Doug, why didn't you run the ball? Oh, we'll do that this week, right? Or Carson comes out, yeah, let's look at the film. Let's look at the tape. Yeah, we'll get that fixed. We say the same thing every single week, and we do nothing different. I really feel like Doug is stubborn. Like I've been saying, like there's a disconnect. It's almost coaching like he doesn't care, and Carson is like, it just is what it is for Carson. But my God, I mean, the organization is falling fast. It's like a burning city just coming down, and accountability is everything. I just don't think, even if Doug came out to the podium and said, this is on me or this is on us, we got to do something now. We got to get this fixed. But no, to me, he's been acting like a child, honestly. It's very childish to me, and it's almost unwatchable anymore for me.
Yeah, I'd rather somebody right now. You know how Doug Pederson can get fired and still be the hero of Philadelphia. If he goes to the podium after maybe last week of the year or whatever, or even next week, I'm cool with that. You go up to the podium and you say, this is why we suck. Howie Roseman won't let me do this, that. If y'all want to fire me because of that, then cool. I would love that man if he did that. I would love that man if he walked out and basically gave us a mic drop and said, this is what's going on.
He sort of did.
He did that, but then all of ESPN and all the other fans, half everyone split in half would be like, "That's loud. You keep that within the team. You don't share that out loud."
Not at this point.
And to add on to that, I actually want to hear from you guys because one point we didn't talk about. I would love to know. Like, I feel like there's been a point in every game this year where it's like, what? What did you just call? Why? What are we doing?
Mhm.
Now, yesterday, we are down 11 points, and there's 8 minutes in the game. It's 4th and 4 from the 15. Now, anybody with a regular football mind or just a brain to be like that, I mean, would say kick the field goal. We got to stop on the next possession. We get the ball back. There's 6 minutes left. But I feel like there's been a point like that every game this year, whether it's a Jalen Hurts read option on a 2-point conversion, whether it's this, whether it's that. I feel like I'm always just thinking, like, what? What are you thinking? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, last night, as soon as that happened, like, don't get me wrong, Jake Elliott has been trash. The fact that he missed that extra point after we finally drive down, get a touchdown, even if that drive was a little lucky with some calls by the refs. Either way, we got the touchdown. We're getting them. We're starting to get some momentum. You missed that field goal, and he's been doing that all season. But to say the least, you still go for the field goal. If Jake misses that field goal, then let all of Philly Nation be mad at Jake. Instead, you make a dumb play. Like, I walked up. I jumped up. I was like, I can't believe this. I looked at the TV. I just like, F you, Doug. I walked away. I didn't want to watch the play. And then I look back over, and then Carson and Goddard are not on the same page, and the guy throws into the defender's belly. It was just like, I was like, this is why you don't make the obvious between you, Howie, whoever, Carson. Make the obvious decisions sometimes. You don't have to be over the top. You don't have to play hero ball. You don't have to play hero coach. You don't have to play hero GM. Do something obvious, and it will work most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at that drive, it's not like we were finally clicking on offense. It's not like we were finally getting it together. I believe that's the drive that we got 2 back-to-back pass interferences that got us all the way down the field, which were 2 bad Carson Wentz throws, if we're being honest. You know, it is what it is. He kind of got bailed out. Those both could have been touchdowns, if not very long plays, if, you know, it was a better throw by Carson. It was a clean pocket. So, but I'm just going to say that. It is what it is. But it's not like we were clicking. It's not like, hey, we got all these yards. You know, we got some momentum behind us. Let's just go for it. These plays have been working. Nothing's working. You know, and I understand the mentality that you might not get there again, but you got to take that chance. You have to take the momentum where you can get it. You know, and to your point, like you said, it happens every week. You can go back to going for the 2-point conversion and not getting it when we didn't need it. Was it the Giants? I can't even remember the game because we do it so many times.
We do it so much.
It just makes no sense. And you never do it when you need to. You know, you never make that gutsy call when you really need to. Like the Bengals game. I still, to this day, I would rather have lost that game. Like, make a decision. Make a gutsy call. You know, be that 4th down Doug. Don't just do it when it's cute, when the blowback might not be too big on you. You know what I'm saying? It's not a huge game situation. You make that, you make a statement. You know what I'm saying? You missed that, you made a statement. Either way, there was a statement made. You know, you can't be on the fence. And I feel like far too often he's on the fence. He's too aggressive when he doesn't need to be, not aggressive enough, especially with play calling when he needs to be. So it's just a whole thing with Doug, but it stems, you know, how much of it is like to Tom's point, how much of it is Carson changing his plays at the line of scrimmage or not calling his plays at all. You know, there's so much. We don't know what's going on, but go ahead, Tom.
No, last night's a fireable offense. I mean, I don't know any way to say it. I mean, I'll stick up for the guy. I'm not firing him this year just because I'm not going out where there's 10 teams looking for a head coach trying to find one, because I'll probably fail at that then. I'll probably miss it. I know the guy can coach. I know he's a good leader of men. I know he's a resilient dude. I know we have short memories here. I get it. So do I, right? So do I. I'm the king of the short memory here. It's what have you done for me lately? We're sitting through slop. I totally understand it. But the guy's a resilient dude. For the last 3 years, he's had a resilient group of guys. I think at some point we have to understand that the injuries, the bad roster, lose your resiliency. At some point, your resiliency goes away and you just can't be resilient anymore. And that's what we're watching right now. I mean, think about it. The Super Bowl year, right? All captains, every guy with a C, and you still go win a Super Bowl the next year. The whole roster banged up again. And you go to the playoffs, right? And you win a playoff game. And on the brink of going to NFC title game. And then last year was bad. Like last year was totally inconsistent, blah, blah, blah. But you were still resilient when you controlled your own destiny, right? And you got into the dance again. So I mean, every year he's had some sort of resiliency that he was able to get his roster to go play football. So I don't want to just assume he forgot how to do that. I'm going to factor some things in. I'm going to factor a bad roster. I'm going to factor in that I don't think, I would love Eric Bieniemy, but I don't think it's realistic. I think there's too many teams that are looking for a head coach. So I would give him one more year. The other thing that I really don't, I've seen comments in it, he's sort of a dick in pressers, right? I can't run a guy out for press conferences. I can't, because I would have. Then look what we did to Andy Reid. I mean, we literally were tired of the act, and I got to do better stuff, and I think full responsibility stuff. That at that point it was enough, and it was enough, and it was time to go for Andy, because every shelf life ends. Like there's a shelf life to everything. But the point is for a long time we had great football here, and we got so mad that you got to do a better job, Andy. Really? We know. But, I just look at these guys like politicians. They never tell you what you want to hear. They're always lying to your face. They're going to tell you they're going to use Jalen Hurts. He's going to complete a pass where you were minus in yards in the first half. He completes a pass. You're finally in positive yards, and you got the guy come run off the field. All of us Carson guys have said it from day one. If you're going to put him on the field, give him a series. Give him a series. If you're going to try gadget stuff, you guys drafted all gadget guys, not me. So if you're going to get gadgety, then get gadgety. And what gadget teams do is they have that guy run a couple gadget series. It's just a joke. So I don't, like I said, I blame it on Doug. That's fireable Joe last night. Totally fireable, guys. That's a fireable offense. All right? I'm right there with you. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me that I'm willing to give him one more year. It could be something wrong with me. Totally.
I hear you, man. The only thing I don't understand, and maybe you guys can enlighten me, is you're right, the resiliency. To be honest, this Eagles team has been obliterated with injuries the past 4 years. I've never seen a stretch like this. But last year, after that Miami game, I know I was sunk in a hole. I was saying, the season's over. We stink. It's over. But what did we do with practice squad guys? We came out of a hole, and it was every game we just built on the momentum. And honestly, if Wentz stays healthy in the playoff game, we probably beat Seattle. That's how I feel about it. So, but it's just this year has a different vibe to it. It's not I just don't feel that sense of here's the time. It's going to kick in. Doug's going to get it going. We're going to get the offense. And I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't feel like the other years.
Circle back to the beginning of the show. You said it yourself. You said, hey, and I totally agree with you, because that's spot on. When he came out and gave Mike Rowe and everybody else a vote of confidence, and then you're blindside the next, somebody punches you in the back of the head, and you're like, whoa, where'd that guy punching from? And then you're like, wait. I'm a Super Bowl winning head coach. I come out on the podium and saying, these guys are coming back with me. This is my staff. I believe in these guys. And then you're going out from underneath me and you're pulling the rug out. I mean, right then I would start thinking, what we said, does Doug want to get fired? It sort of looks like a guy who wants to get fired. It really is. Maybe he does. Maybe he does.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And I feel like what we saw last year and even the year before when we started making those comebacks, made a little run towards the end, is you saw the play calling. You saw glimpses. You saw glimpses of hope with it, whether it was a quarter, whether it was just the second half. This year, I can't remember the last good drive that we've had. The last solid, meaningful drive. Not we're down by
Before the end of the second quarter, there was 3. After that,
I can't really think of maybe you could say that the last drive to tie it up against the Bengals. That was probably the best drive we've had in.
Wasn't there a PI on that drive too?
There probably was.
There might be
unnecessary roughness.
Go back to Week 1 Washington, Joe. That's it. Week 1 Washington.
I'm over here trying to be positive.
You know what I was thinking about? I was thinking yesterday, and I'm like, everyone talks about, we were a bounce away from beating Baltimore. We were a play away from beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? But when I'm thinking about it, I'm turning my optimism bias off. I'm like, we're a couple bounces away from losing every game this season. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were down 9-7 against the Cowboys and Ben DiNucci at halftime. And at that point, that game literally felt like a loss. We won it. We felt like we lost. So honestly, if a couple things go different, we could have 6-7 wins. We could have no wins. And I think we need to realize this isn't just a good football team playing bad anymore. It's a bad football team. And as when we establish that, we will be fine and we can just accept what's going on. But
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing right now, especially for Eagles fans. I feel like Eagles fans, I love all of us. You know, I love everybody in the chat. We have like 40 people in the chat right now. So shout out to all you guys. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe. Shout out to Thomas Arnone from A2D Radio, my boy Philly Take with RB. You know, make sure you subscribe everybody up. But we are very very heated. I think that's a nice way of putting it. You know what I'm saying? Like our Thanksgivings aren't, you know, quiet, you know, and you know, church music going on in the background. We're rowdy guys. You know, we love our team and we love to hate our team when they do bad. And we have to be realistic. It might, like Tom said, at this point, we might have to wait a year or two and see them get it together for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where we might be, and we have to be okay with that. And right now, like I said before in the beginning of this podcast, we have to start looking at the future, and the future might be on our roster. Like you said, Travis Fulgham might not be T.O. He might not be, you know, whoever you want to say. I that's the only wide receiver in my lifetime I can think of for the Eagles that we've had that was, you know, he might not even be Jeremy Maclin. There we go. You know, I would take Jeremy Maclin, but, you know, he might not be a superstar. But if he can be even a Jason Avant, if he can be a good Eagle, a great player for the Eagles, if we can figure out his role, just like everybody else on this team, you know, Jalen Reagor included, if we can figure out what do you do good, like we did last year with Boston Scott, you know what I'm saying? We figured out, okay, you're good at this. Let's keep doing this with you, you know, and he went out and got 3 touchdowns against the Giants. He went out and helped us, you know, on that comeback, whatever you want to call it, and make the playoffs. So we need to do that. You know, like you guys said, I feel like Doug doesn't care. He doesn't want to, I don't even want to say coaching to lose, but I think he's just coaching for the game to be over. You know, he's just kind of on autopilot at this point. So it's frustrating, but it is what it is. We have to, and like you said, we could be 0 whatever amount of games we've lost right now. So it is what it is. We have to. Next week, I'm going to come on this show and I'm going to still say we're going to win. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to be 100% honest. But I know it is what it is. We got to look at it how it's going to go. So we spent a lot of time, I don't want to say being negative, but being realistic. All right. Someone asked, and I've been meaning to ask this question, but we've been going. What are some things that you're happy about? He gave a pretty good list. A couple of players that he's happy that he's seen, you know, break out. There's got to be at least one, guys.
All right. Positive. Alex Singleton. He's been playing well. Don't get me wrong. Our defense, like, we still need to invest in linebackers. I'm not a big Duke Riley fan. I think him and Nate Gary got to go up personally. I'm okay with Singleton emerging. I don't know if this is just like an outlier year. He's coming in. He's just chip on the shoulder and wants to prove himself, and then we'll pay him a little bit of money and he stinks like Jake Elliott. But I mean, he's been playing well. So I like him. I like TJ Edwards. Brandon Graham, he started off super well. I feel like I haven't really heard his name lately, but he was another guy that I was hyped about. And Jordan Mailata, it's cool to see the rugby dudes stepping up and playing well. I mean, I think he struggled a little bit this past game, but bro, some positives for this team. This has to be one of the worst seasons I've ever seen. And it's like, just to piggyback off to what you were saying right before I finished there, is you're right. If we need another year or two to kind of rebuild, that's okay. I think as a fan, when you know you're rebuilding and you need to, quote unquote, Philly mantra, trust the process, you're okay with that and your mindset's that. But when you're technically in it every week, you're losing, it plays tricks on your mind, and you just don't know how to feel because you want to win because you're one game out or you're a half game ahead of everyone, but we stink. So you know we're going to lose. It's just it's all over the place, but that's why it's hard to really pinpoint positives. But Alex Singleton right now has been at least a bright spot the last like 3 weeks.
Well, he kind of took all of them. So me trying to think of some other ones, but just to respond to that point, like you're right. Like I feel like if we weren't in this division, we weren't in the hunt for first place. I mean, I feel like changes would have been made like 4 weeks ago, probably. But man, besides Alex Singleton, I thought Brandon Graham was having a good year. Josh Sweat was a guy who emerged for me. Haven't heard much of him lately. I mean, a little bit here and there. I was a fan of Travis Fulgham, and I still think he can be a quality receiver, maybe in the future. I don't know. Everything else has kind of gone downhill, to be honest. Like, there's not much to be happy about. I liked Nate Herbig, but I mean, he took a seat on the bench, so I don't know. Guys I like tend to fade out.
Don't like any of our players. Man.
Just don't think about them.
Oh, brother, you ain't alone. I think that's like a Philly thing for us. Like we start liking guys and they end up stinking. Like I feel like it's my whole life. Like, oh, I love this guy. He's like my son. You stink. Like, you know what I mean? Like Carson, I couldn't defend him more every week, and then he gets worse every week. And I'm like, how is this happening to me? Like, how is this happening? Oh my God, it's a positive. Jeez, how much time we got?
How much you really need? I mean,
we're at the end of the year. There's my positive.
You know what? You know the positive? The real positive is that finally the bright lights on Howie Roseman. Finally, that light's shining. That your drafts over the last 4 years have been atrocious. But a positive player, like you said, BG early on. I always love BG's motor. I'll never put BG down. Resilient dude. I mean, Derek Barnett obviously wants to get paid. I mean, he's probably had his best year as an Eagle, and it's been overlooked by a lot of things. I mean, Derek Barnett's probably his best year since he was drafted. And that's not saying much for Reggie White, because that's who I was told he was coming out of Tennessee. But he's had his best year, honestly. If you really want to go for like an under-the-radar guy that people are probably going to bash, but sacks-wise, number-wise, has been pretty productive, even though he was banged up early on.
He probably just had his best game.
Best game. I thought he was all over the field last night. I really thought he had a motor going. I mean, that's what we drafted him for. I was never really out on Derek Barnett. I always thought he could play. Injuries hurt him a little bit. Going off sides kills him. Way too much. Yeah. But I mean, that front, I would say for that front played pretty well. Not to the level they needed to this year. I mean, with all the money up front, Hargrave stinks. Yeah, I like DB. I like the way Brandon Graham's played. Dallas Goedert, I mean, semi-positive. I thought he's played well when he's been on the field. I mean, obviously injuries are hurting all these guys for me to be like really positive on him. But I thought Dallas Goedert, as he's come back now from his injury, he's played a little bit better every time. Shit.
I want to know how Howie Roseman was I don't know if he had confidence, but like was satisfied with starting the season with our linebacking core reading as Nathan Gary, TJ Edwards, and Duke Riley. I mean, I guess we tried to poo-poo that off or like just throw it to the side, but like, my God. I mean, we were saying Davion Taylor's going to play. Sean Bradley's going to play. I mean, what the heck, man? I mean, I've never seen a linebacking core this poor. I really haven't.
Who was on the board, though, too? RB, right? Like, do you remember Jim Schwartz said? Jim Schwartz said he wanted a linebacker. He was begging for Murray. And this dork goes and takes a gadget spinner over a national champion and Kenneth Murray, who's a real good linebacker.
Bro.
And even in the second round, I was big on Zach Bond from Wisconsin. I really liked him, and I thought, I thought we were either going linebacker, safety, or wide receiver again. Mm-hmm. I was dumbfounded, but
I still can't believe that pick. I
feel bad for Taylor right here. I feel
people are trying to justify that pick now. Like, because Carson's stinking up the joint. Now that's fine. No, it's still a bad pick. People were coming in my live stream last night like, oh, no. Look, you were all mad on draft night. Look now. No, it's still a bad pick.
Now look at Howie.
And it's I can't believe we've fallen into the situation now where it's like, damn it, now I got to like fight this. Like,
it's the smartest guy in the room thing. I think Tom said it a couple of times. It's everybody wants to be the smartest guy in the room. I get trolled so many times when I put out like an opinion because it's like, oh, YouTube makes you think you guys know everything. I don't. We got amazing, subscribers that I learn more from my subscribers then I probably teach them at points. You know what I'm saying? Or I show them. And that's what this community is about. It's not about knowing everything. And that's what we need from the Eagles front office. You see how I bring that all together? They need to realize that the smartest man in the room is the person that can put the smartest man in their job, that can put them in their position. I can say, I can't do this as well as this person can, so let that person do it. And to your point, Tom, I think you're the one that said it. He has a little bit of Jerry Jones running in his veins right now. And that's probably the worst thing that I can say. Now, I want to say a positive because I got positive. I'm going to say a positive. I have two of them, actually.
Hey.
Look at me go. But no, I'm going to say one of the things is Greg Ward. Honestly, he's not a sexy pick. He's not out here putting up 100 yards every week. But he's basically what I expected he would be. He's a very solid. He'll get you your 3 to 5 catches a game. He's a solid number 2, number 3 type receiver. And that's something to build from. That's something to build for. I'm not saying he's, like I said, a world beater, but if he can be like a Jason Avant, a solid 4 for us like that, that's something to build on. I'm happy for him, and I'm a fan of him, so I'm happy for that. That's positive for me. He's not out there stinking it up. And then I also want to say Stoutland. I feel like Stoutland has brought all these young nobody, if you want to go that far, offensive linemen, and he's put them in there. With the exception of Sua Apeta and Jamon Brown, our offensive linemen, they've went in there and they've played decently for the amount of experience that they have. Look at Jordan Mailata. Look at Nate Herbig, even Jack Driscoll. Like they're coming in cold, and they're at least competing. We can't say obviously they're not world beaters. So those are my two stretch of a positive. That's what I'm going to go with.
Quick question, just because you did mention Greg Ward, do you take his only wide receiving as a positive, or do you put anytime he's on the field, it's been positive?
He shouldn't be out there. He shouldn't be a punt returner. So I'm not putting that on him.
Or basura. They're so bad.
He shouldn't be out there.
Greg Ward, because he was a quarterback before. We're a quarterback factory. We every quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if Greg Ward's playing quarterback for this team. I mean, every quarterback, we're just going for quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's annoying. A positive on the season is Cam Johnston. That boy got a leg. That boy got a boot. Yeah, I mean, we have to figure it out from top to bottom, from bottom to top. I don't care how they start, but just start and do it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's figure this out now. Let me ask you guys a question, and then we'll start heading out of here. Would you guys want to see Jalen Hurts starting next week, this Sunday, coming up Sunday?
Yes. I think it's the best for the team. I think Carson's got to sit down, take a game. Well, at this point, I mean, even if we're still in it, I think Carson's got to take a game just to see it from a different angle. That's what I said last week. And trust me, I'm actually Doug and Carson guys. Like, I like these guys, but it comes to a point where it's stale. However, it's not more so because Jalen Hurts is going to save our season, like I said earlier. It's just because Carson's getting banged up, over 40 sacks. I mean, everything that keeps going on. And I feel like we're not figuring out a way to get around it. Like we're throwing Carson out there doing the same thing, and it's not going to work. So at that point, I'm just saying, well, if this guy is your long-term investment, well, do you want to throw him out there? Believe it or not, he's the only quarterback in the NFC East that's healthy. I mean, look, you throw him out there these next couple games, we have some tough matchups coming out. Even if you want to use Hurts for a couple series, I don't know, man. I've been the guy to say if you put Hurts on the field, give him a half, give him a game, something, but not this back and forth stuff. But I just think it's time to do something. But who knows, man?
You can't even call it back and forth. He goes in for a play or two. Like they just force. They're like, we drafted him. We got to get him in at least once. We use him, guys. We use him. No, you don't use him. You waste it down putting him in. We all know what you're running, Doug. He's gonna run the ball to the left or the right, and he's been tackled ever since like his first couple good runs. But this week coming up, I wouldn't start Hurts. I think that if yes, you want maybe to see something different. Maybe if you come at me and say we don't want to hurt Wentz. I think if you lose this next game to the Packers and Washington or the Giants win their next game, then for the last couple of games, maybe you can sit Wentz, because at that point I don't see us winning the rest of the games out there and catching up to win the division. you want to protect your quarterback. Knock on wood, he's been okay. He's been healthy for the most part, considering that he's been hit the most out of anyone in the league. So if he can survive this season, I think you can toss away the injury-prone quarterback, because he's been taking a beating out there. Even when he lets go of the ball, he's still getting hit after throwing the ball. So for this game, if you're going to put Jalen Hurts, put him in the game for, like you said, put him in a drive, put him in for just to see what he can do. Don't put him in to where there's a false start. You keep him in, he completes a pass, and then you take him out and you don't see him the rest of the game. It was just all sloppy in itself, and it was awkward. Everyone knew it was awkward. It didn't make sense for any of that to happen. But
that's continuity. That's the new continuity. That's 2020 continuity. Right?
Like if you're going to go ahead and go into this game, what happened to the John Hightower deep throws? Get Carson comfortable in that stuff. Yeah, John Hightower dropped some passes, but at least the passes got to him. They've completely gone away from that. They inserting Alshon. The only positive, you know what? Here's a positive. I saw Alshon talking to Wentz on the sideline last night. There was one instance the camera went into him and they were chit-chatting. I was like, okay, maybe Alshon's giving him some kind words. But I'm not going to bench Wentz just yet, just because we want to try to make a spark at this point. But after this game, if we lose, and like I said, Washington and Giants win, or one of them wins, then I'd bench him just to keep him safe for next season.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bench him now, because I mean, I needed to do that. I should have did that, or I should have did that last night then. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. Like, I'll let him run out again. You'll go get it. You'll go get a half again. But if we have 6 points at half again, like I can love Carson, but he's my child who isn't born yet, right? And I can love him like that. And I gotta have no agenda anymore. Like, I promise people no agenda when I try to talk about Eagles and Philly sports, because we love it so much, and sometimes agendas get in the way of it. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I can't have an agenda anymore. If you come out and struggle, I just need to see the other guy, and not for the spark, not for nothing more than just to come here, because if I can't hold him accountable, I can't hold anybody accountable. So my accountability doesn't start with Will Parks. My accountability starts with my $100 million players. Mm-hmm. Fletcher Cox, Carson Wentz. So if I can sit here every week and say, hey, my keys to defense is I need to hear Fletcher Cox's name 1,000,000 times, right? Because he's getting paid $100 million. So I got to hear him that many times. I got to have that same thing with Carson. You know, I love them both the same, but you know what I mean? I got to keep it equal opportunity in terms of who I'm roasting. You know? So, I mean, I can't tell you he's looked at least a little bit good. I agree with RB. Look, he looks like he got bigger. Looks like it looks like he doesn't want to run. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Yeah. We just traded this guy 2 overall. We thought he was like the savior of our franchise. Like, look at Rodgers. He's like Mahomes. He might stink.
And just to say real quick, like, I think on the first 4 drives, I think we had 4 yards of offense. At one point, we were averaging 13 inches per play. I think it took to the 5th drive for us to get a first down. I mean, and we bring Hurts in. To your point about Alshon, I mean, that was his first catch of the season by Jalen Hurts. And then it's just like, it just takes a toll on you, man. And it's like, oh, man.
I feel like this whole season has been us just trying to make excuses for little dumb stuff that we've seen. Like, you know, you can even go back to JP getting that money. You know what I'm saying? Then he starts playing bad, and we're looking like, really? You know, and then you go back to you can go back to a bunch of stuff. Like all this year, you see little dumb stuff happen with how they treated Alshon's injury. It's like, why wasn't he just on? All right, whatever. Well, we're here now. And I feel like we just been like, well, we'll figure it out now. Now we have everybody coming back. Let's figure it out. But now it's even falling apart with everybody coming back. It's like, come on. Shout out to Philly Talk Podcast. 5 possessions, 0 first downs. That's the stat line you love to see.
First down is when Carson went on that like 16-yard run. And I don't know about you guys. I think you mentioned this, RB. Year 1, year 2, the guy looked athletic. He looked like he's like a Cam Newton, and maybe a little sleeker, maybe not as like running ability, but he looked good running. Now he kind of looks awkward running, like he's about to trip over his own feet when he's just running around. I really don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the injuries.
He looks stiff. And I would love to say, like, somebody brought it up on one of our shows. They were like, well, like Derrick Rose. And I was like, I would love to tell you it's like Derrick Rose if it's the same injury. He's only been, like, we talk about him being banged up. It's not like he's had this many injuries. I mean, he's had a knee. He came back from the knee and had his back. I mean, that's it. I mean, the concussion is a concussion. So they're the only injuries that he's had as a pro. I'm not saying that's nothing, but it's not like he's been banged up as much as we sort of feel like he has, because it's such a topic of conversation that, like, I just think that he got heavy, and not in a bad way. Like, I just think he tried to bulk up so he wouldn't get hurt. Like, you know what I mean? Like Donovan did. Donovan did the same shit.
Yeah, and I feel like last year a lot of us were saying, like, all right, that's probably the floor. Yeah.
Donovan started struggling, really throwing the ball when he got like this. You know what I mean? And he got like, when you're like this, and he couldn't, like, every throw was like tight. That's what it is. Everything was tight.
Everything took 26 seconds on fourth down. I don't know if y'all remember that play, but yeah. But no, I feel like, what was I gonna say? Damn, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
No, you're good. What was I gonna say? What were we talking about? Carson
fatness. No, we're not gonna put that.
I just wanted to say, I think someone said earlier, like, Carson Wentz, when he runs the ball, is like our only source of offense. And I was laughing about this last night. I'm like, he had more rushing yards than passing yards at halftime. He had 30 passing yards at halftime, and he had 33 rushing yards. And I'm just sitting back. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, wow, this is what it's come to.
Yeah, and he's keeping his job because of our defense last week, at least, or last night, I should say. That's the only reason he stood in the game. It's because our defense kept it close enough that it looked like it was a game, but it wasn't. If you watch Philadelphia football, you knew that offense was not getting better in the second half. That's another thing. They don't make any adjustments in the second. Everybody just looks like they're on autopilot. They're waiting for the end of the season. It's like when you're playing Madden. Your team sucks, so you're just waiting for the advance. You just want to get it over with. Keep giving out forced wins. I'm not saying this from experience. Me and Brandon are in a Madden league together, and that's basically what I do every year because I suck. But it is what it is. It's like, I feel like we don't have a team there. I just want to see a helmet thrown. I want to see someone get cussed out. I loved seeing Timmy Jernigan, whatever he was doing, punching the heck out of people. I'm down with that. Let's see some energy. Let's see somebody that cares. I feel like if nothing else, Philly Will cared. Will Parks cared. Will Parks liked being here. He liked playing for the Eagles. And I know that sounds stupid, but it looks like nobody else does. It looks like nobody else wants to be out there at times.
Yeah, last night people were, when I was watching, people were saying, wow, those are dumb penalties in the beginning. I low-key loved it. I love the energy the defense came out with. They were on fire. And then they stuffed them twice. 2 times on fourth downs, they stopped them, and the energy was there, and I loved it. And I just, like you said, Castro, I wish the offense had the same kind of energy, the same kind of fire. If you're not pushing someone, if something goes bad, maybe you're going to the sideline pissed off. At least show us that it's just not oh, man, okay, next time.
Get better.
Got it next time. Like,
we got to execute.
High score Pee Wee football. I don't need you to be nonchalant. This is the NFL where you have a chance to win the division. Even if it's a crappy division, you still can win the division. You can still put in your pennants. 2020 NFC East champions. Like, those are still accomplishments. And it doesn't feel like at least the offensive side of the ball doesn't have that fire to win right now.
At all. So let me ask y'all a question. This is going to be my final question, and we're going to get out of here. If you, we're going to go to bed tonight, still Eagles fans, still men. We're not going to cry ourselves to sleep. It is what it is. What headline do you want to see from the Eagles? Or what headline do you think we'll see?
This week?
Tomorrow morning. If you had it your way and you woke up tomorrow, what would the headline be? Would it be Howie Roseman fired? Would it be Doug Pederson fired? Would it be everybody fired? What would your headline be?
You guys can go first. I got to think about this.
Oh, mine's easy. Howie Roseman has been relieved of his general manager duties. What I would love to see, or Howie Roseman was stuffed back in the closet. Anything along the lines of that when it comes to Howie Roseman. I don't even know if I would be mad if a post came out that said Jeffrey Lurie sold the team. Like, I don't even know at this point. Like, I don't even know. No, I don't want. I still like Jeffrey, so I don't want to go down that road. I still think he's a guy who cares and wants to win. So I won't go down that road. But Howie, I will.
I don't know. Like,
it's hard. It's hard.
My headline would be the start of the 2021 NFL season. That would be my headline. Like, just fast forward me in time. Don't talk to me again. I'm gonna go through the games as my usual sad Eagles fan self and hope something changes. But nah, like the headline I would want to see is Jason Peters cut, Alshon cut. All right, every young guy gets a chance. I forgot John Hightower was even on this team. I forget JJ Arcega-Whiteside's on this team. It's sad. That would be my headline. Can we go back and get DK Metcalf? Because, damn.
Right. Like at this point, I'd rather have JJ out there instead of Alshon. At least we can all be like, oh, well, at least it's JJ. He stinks. But instead we got Alshon just taking up snaps.
Well, don't we want guys to get better? I mean, like, I don't know if he can. It looks like he can't play, right? It looks like he can't play a lick. But you're never going to know until you run him out there all the time. And it's that one play where Louis Riddick said it took Alshon 4 days to get in and out of his break, right? Like, you think JJ's not doing that a little faster? I mean, at this point, like, I'm not saying he can play because I don't know. But like what you guys all said, what do we have to lose? Give all the young kids a chance to play. Find out what you need in the draft next year.
Yep. I don't believe that he truly can't play, though. I feel like he has something to his game. But my question is, like when we use him, right? Like, I don't know about you. Obviously, we're not in the red zone that much, but I barely see Carson throw a lob up to the corner of the end zone. Isn't that what JJ thrived in? Isn't he a power receiver, like a 50-50 ball guy? Like, did we ever do that? No. Like,
we do little underneath screens to Greg Ward.
I mean, maybe at the end of the day, maybe those plays are called and Carson goes away from it and goes to the guys he trusts.
Maybe.
But, I mean, I haven't really seen anyone say, oh, look at that guy, JJ over there in the corner. He looks like he can do it. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I guess my headline for tomorrow would be Will Park signed at a practice squad. No. Let's see. I really don't know. I mean, I'm on the train of get Howie out of there or at least have him stripped of some kind of player personnel. It's tough. I even went last, and I still don't even know what my headline is.
We talked about all the coaches, but do you guys think Schwartz should stay too? Or
it's funny that you bring that up because I've been the first one. Even when we did our show back in the daytime, I feel like it's back in the day. It was maybe a month or two ago now. But when we first did our show, Tom, and even before that, Brandon can attest to, I was so big on firing Schwartz. And I still think that he needs to go. I still don't think he's amazing, but he's like the last on my list now. In fact, back when we did the show, it was Schwartz, then Howie, then Doug. Now I feel like it's a total opposite. Like Schwartz is the only consistent we've had, and he might not be consistently great. He's kind of consistently average, I feel like, but we're seeing change in that defense. It might have just been one game, but I don't know if I need to change my contacts. Don't get me wrong. I put these in a little bit too long. So last night, maybe it was a little bit blurry. But I didn't see a lot of sticks defense. I didn't see, there were times that are on 3rd and 5 that our cornerbacks were 25 yards back. But there was times that they were up on their guy. You see changes in his defense. So maybe he's turning a corner, maybe. I still think he needs to go. But, I think he's the least of my concerns right now, which is just a crazy turnaround, in my opinion, especially for me, because I was huge on getting him fired.
Yeah, there are two football guys that are in charge, right? I mean, both guys are lifers in the game. I mean, Doug, Jim, I don't feel like either one forgot how to coach. I feel like you got talent on the defense. So you should start to get them put together by week 11. Where you're feeling good about yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and I know it's been a weird year and he's had some moving parts, new pieces. I get it all. I thought his defense has slowly gotten better. So I'll give him credit. I know he's Uncle Missionary and doesn't like to change much and he likes what he likes, and that's fine. But he's got that. He had them guys ready to play last night. And I'll give him kudos for that. And not a guy I'm rushing to fire because, again, like, there's always going to be somebody else out there. But it's almost like who's out there right now in a weird, which is going to be another weird offseason. Right? Of like you saw the teams that did make moves, they all stink for the most part, that brought in new coaches. So I don't know. I mean, I think I I think if Doug's back, like I think I keep Jim back then too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. At this point, he's gotten the defense a little better. I feel bad for Slay since his numbers are kind of skewed. They say his man-to-man coverage numbers aren't that great, but he's also playing like 10 yards off. You got a guy like Jarvis Landry who excels at the slant route, just running slants and catching the ball in the rain. I mean, those are easy completions that we're letting up because he has that whole bend but don't break. He's okay if they catch the short pass as long as you're tackling right away. And I think that this does a disservice to Slay. I feel like his name is Big Play Slay because he was able to play the ball, and now he's playing the player instead of the ball. But if you're going to keep it consistent, I mean, if you're going to keep Doug, then maybe you keep Schwartz. But if you're one of those Eagles fans that's ready to move on from pretty much everything, then maybe it's you keep Doug, but then everyone else goes. All the little side noises and Jim, and you just start fresh with some new players. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still looking at players that still aren't really used. Davion Taylor, Sean Bradley. You're seeing guys leave. Jordan Hicks, Sidney Jones, Rasul Douglas playing well in other systems. So maybe it's time. Javon Hargrave stinks for us. Aiden, it could be the system. I'm not saying next year we get someone new. We move to 3-4. But there must be other ways to variations of things to get these players into better things. I think if you can make an argument for blowing it up and just keeping Doug and sending everyone else home.
Yeah, look, I mean, before we started this, I was like, there's no way we're going to really go a whole hour of just talking basically about the same thing we've been all talking about for the past week or two. We're almost on 2 hours. I have to get my man's Tom out of here because he got A2D after dark tonight at 8 o'clock, right?
More Eagles, 8:30, more Eagles.
8:30. Okay, so yeah. So, I need to give my man's a little bit of a break. I didn't expect us to go this long. And, me and Brandon ain't built for these long lives. You know how it goes. But listen, guys, I want to first off thank everybody that's in the chat. We're still at 43. Make sure to go hit all the links in the description. We got merch down there. We got A2D Radio, and we have Philly Philly Take with RB. So make sure to go subscribe to them. Make sure to like this, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Like I said, this has been a long time coming. It was a lot of fun talking to you guys.
Yes, sir.
Oh, a ton of fun. Thanks for having me, guys. RB, good to meet you and talk to you too, brother. This was a lot of fun, guys. A lot of fun. You made me feel better today. I feel better. There's so much negativity. It's all cleared out. I feel great.
There you go.
Hey, appreciate everyone on the panel, man. Tom, nice to meet you. Brandon, I know we kind of met the other day, but this was a lot of fun. This was much more fun than yesterday. Just talking about this team. I mean, getting the frustrations out. And, I'll feel better for the next 5 days now, until we go back in the board. Appreciate it.
Until next Tuesday. Now, I appreciate it. And, before I do leave, we do have Joey Shakes next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, we're doing a call-in show with the man himself, Joey Shakes. Tomorrow, we got some things going on. But, other than that, man, y'all know what it is, man. I'm out of here, man. This fly was flying. We are out here. Peace.